Hello my crafty friends, this is Monica from Allsewpetite. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I will demonstrate how to make this pouch using a scooter pouch pattern. This is an advanced beginner project, but if you are familiar with sewing zippers and box corners, then you should have no problem completing the project with my help. The scooter pouch features a front zipper pocket, which is large enough to hold most mobile phones. The pattern was specifically designed with the scooters in mind, and you will find adjustable Velcro straps on the back and side panels that allows for a fast and easy installation and release onto a handlebar. You can check out Tester's roundup post to see other versions of the scooter pouch and find out how my pattern testers are using them. There is a top zipper closure with a zipper tab at the end, and the main compartment is fully lined. The scooter pouch can be used by kids or adults and is big enough to store your everyday essentials such as wallet, keys, mobile phone or a snack without the need to carry a small backpack. Head over to my website to get the scooter pouch pattern and let's get sewing. I will include the link to the pattern and all supplies I used in this tutorial in the description box below. If you want to learn how to make the scooter pouch with me, then keep on watching. If you want to find out exactly how to print and assemble the pattern, then check out my other video where I explain everything in more details. On the first page of the pattern, you will find a pattern layout. Some pattern pieces are larger than one page and you will have to assemble multiple pages. Those pages are marked with corresponding letters and numbers inside the triangle, which when assembled create a diamond shape. Other pattern pieces are smaller enough to fit on one page, so you can cut them out right away. At first, only print the page with the Test Me calibration square and measure it to check if your printer settings are correct. After that, you can print the rest of the pattern. Locate the triangles and trim the side and bottom page margins. Next, find a page with the corresponding triangle, line them up along the margins and stick them together, creating a diamond shape. Then you will have to repeat the process on the remaining pages. When you assemble the entire pattern piece, you can cut it out. On the last page of the sewing instructions, you will also find labels for individual pattern pieces. So you can print that page as well, cut the labels, and use them to label your pattern pieces. To complete today's project, you will need some external and lining fabrics. For the external panels, I am mixing this gorgeous green wax canvas with this beautiful quilting cotton by Alison Glass. For the lining, I'm using waterproof fabric. If like me you are working with quilting cotton, you might want to consider applying some woven interfacing to the back of the fabric before or after you've cut your pattern pieces. I am not going to use any interfacing on the wax canvas or the waterproof fabric because they are stable enough. If you prefer a more structured pouch, you might want to also consider applying some fusible fleece or Decovil light. You will also need a number 5 zipper. The length is provided in the sewing instructions. An additional number 5 zipper for the front pocket. 2.5 cm webbing and also Velcro that is 2 cm wide. One side of the Velcro tape is called the loop and you can recognize it because it is soft and fuzzy to touch. The other side is called the hook, which is more rigid and rough. You will need a ruler to take some measurements, 2.5 cm rectangle rings, your favorite marking tools, a lighter. It's good to have on hand to burn off the edges of your zipper or the webbing to stop them from unraveling. Hand needle, thread and a thimble might be useful to close the opening in the lining. A seam ripper, just in case if something goes wrong. This is optional, but you can also add a metal tag to the outside of your pouch or a woven label inside the lining. I will use some rivets today, so I will also need a hole puncher and hand press to install them. An awl, corner shaper, and a hand jumper are also useful tools when sewing bulky seams. You will also need some pins or clips to hold your fabric in place, double-sided tape, scissors, snips, and you might also need a multi-surface glue. You will need to cut one base from the external fabric, one zipper tab from the external fabric, two top panels from the external fabric, one back from the external fabric, one zipper pocket from the external and lining fabric, one front panel from the external fabric, one pocket lining from the lining fabric, and one front and one back lining pieces from your lining fabric. Whenever I am working with quilting cotton, I like to apply woven interfacing to the back of the fabric before I cut out individual pattern pieces. As you can see, all my quilting cotton pieces are already interfaced. However, the fabric still needs some structure, so I will also use some Decovil light on the front and back panels. You can use individual pattern pieces as a template to cut out your stabilizer. For this sample, I only used the back pattern piece and cut it twice from Decovil light. When you are ready, you can fuse the stabilizer to the back of the fabric. To protect my iron, I like to use a cotton cloth. If you have any excess stabilizer, just trim it off. Before we apply the stabilizer to the front panel, we will need to assemble the zipper pocket first. So keep that remaining piece of stabilizer for later. On the back pattern piece, there are various connector and Velcro strap placement markings that you will have to copy to the right side of the fabric. Use a tailor's chalk or heat erasable pen and draw those markings on the fabric. I hope you can see that I've already marked both of my connector placements along the top edge and the Velcro strap placement along the bottom edge. There is an additional placement marking also located on the base pattern piece. Because I am working with wax canvas, I cannot really use any heat erasable pen today, so I will skip this step for now and will show you what to do later instead. However, if you can, transfer the marking to the right side of the fabric, only on the left hand side of the base panel. You don't need to mark the right side because we're only going to attach one Velcro strap. First, we are going to make the back Velcro straps. So separate your Velcro tapes and cut two pieces according to the measurements provided in the sewing instructions. Then you can cut two webbing straps. I would recommend burning the edges to stop them from unraveling. Take one hook and one loop tape and apply some double-sided tape along the edge of the loop tape, on that fuzzy side. Grab a ruler and place the loop tape against it, then you're going to take the hoop tape and place it on top. We need to overlap the Velcro tapes by 1 centimeter, but make sure you keep the hook tape on top. It is best to place the Velcro tapes against the ruler to ensure they are kept straight. You want to avoid wonky Velcro straps. If needed, also use a couple of clips to hold them in place. When you are ready, you can stitch a box where the tapes overlap. If you want, you can also stitch crossing lines in the center to strengthen the seam. Next, apply some double-sided tape to the wrong side of the Velcro and take one of the webbing straps because we're going to place Velcro tape on top. You will need to position the softer loop side of the Velcro along one edge of the webbing. So peel off the plastic cover and center the Velcro on top of the webbing strap. The webbing strap will be too long, but don't worry about this. We will finish this edge next. First, repeat for the other strap. Then we're going to stitch along both sides using about 5 mm seam allowance. Just make sure you catch the Velcro tape. Keeping the Velcro tape facing up, fold that end by 1 cm and then again by another centimeter. Just like that. Making sure you cover the short edge of the Velcro tape. Hold the folds with a clip, then top stitch close to the edge. To make strap connectors, you need to cut 2 7 cm long webbing straps. Then you can wrap them around the rectangle rings. You want to make sure the finished connectors are 4 cm long. You can apply some double-sided tape to the back of the connectors, but keep it at least 1.5 cm from that folded edge, because you don't want the tape showing once the connectors are stitched down. Take your connectors and place them on top of the back piece at the markings. If your connector for some reason is slightly longer, don't worry. Make sure the webbing edges are inside the marking. We're going to stitch a box, and if you want, you can also stitch crossing lines in the middle. However, if like me you prefer to install rivets, then it is best to do so once the top edge is sewn. If you install the rivets first, it might be a little bit too difficult to sew the top seam. Measure 3 cm from the short edge of the loop tape and mark a stitching line. Next, you can place the straps at the markings. I like to feed them through the rings first to ensure they are straight. Then line up the ends along the bottom edge and clip together. When you are ready, stitch a box till the line, then additional crossing lines in the center. Cut the Velcro tapes according to the measurements given in the sewing instructions and prepare them in the same way you've done before. Then apply some double-sided tape to the back. Next, you can take the webbing strap and wrap one end around the remaining rectangle ring. You need to measure a 3 cm fold. Next, you're going to take the Velcro and place the loop tape, which is the softer side, against that short folded end. Make sure the Velcro is centered. Take a ruler and measure 5 cm from the folded edge towards the Velcro. Then you can draw a line. Starting at the line, stitch along the edge on both sides using 5 mm seam allowance. Next, you can fold the webbing strap twice by 1 cm, making sure to cover the short edge of the Velcro tape. Then you can top stitch along the edge. When ready, apply some double-sided tape but keep it away from the folded edge. If, like me, you couldn't draw the strap placement on the base panel, you can cut the pattern along the lines to create a little window. Then you can place the pattern piece on the right side of the fabric and line it up so the window is along the left side edge. Then you're going to take the Velcro strap, remove the plastic cover, and place the strap inside the window. Alternatively, you can measure 2.5 centimeters from the side edge, then center the Velcro strap on top. Use whatever method works best for you. But before, mark a line 2 centimeters from the folded edge, then another line exactly where your stitching lines ended. You should have a 3 centimeter gap between both lines. Now you can remove the plastic cover and place the strap at the placement marking. We need to stitch a box between the lines. Plus you can stitch additional crossing lines as before, or if you prefer, install a couple of rivets. Because this area will hold the most amount of weight, make sure to add a piece of stabilizer to the back of the fabric, in case you haven't done it already. I will clip some Decovil light to the back before stitching the strap. Mark your rivet placement, then punch the holes. Because my webbing tends to fray a lot, I like to apply a small amount of glue before I insert the rivets. Then I can set them in using my hand press. Take the zipper tab and with wrong sides together, fold the edges towards the middle and press them flat. Just like that. We're going to stitch along both sides using about 5 mm seam allowance. Making sure the raw edges are inside, fold the zipper tab in half. You can baste it first, otherwise take the base panel and find the midpoint along the side edge. Center the zipper tab and pin it in place. Now we can baste it about 5 mm from the edge. Take the external zipper pocket and place the shorter zipper facing down along the left side edge. I like my zippers to open from top to bottom. Line it up, then clip it in place. If you want, you can baste the zipper about 2 mm from the edge. Otherwise, take the zipper pocket lining piece and with right side facing down, place it on top of the pocket. Line them up and pin them together. We are going to sew the seam using 5 mm seam allowance. Press the seam allowance to one side, then bring the pieces wrong sides together and press the seam flat. Line up on all sides and clip everything in place. Then we can top stitch along the zipper and baste around all remaining sides. Take the pocket lining piece and with right side facing down, place it on top of the zipper pocket. Line it up on all sides and pin together. When ready, take it to the machine and baste along all sides. Trim off the excess zipper, then take the front panel piece and with right sides together, line it up on top of the zipper. Pin it in place and sew the seam using 5 mm seam allowance. Press the seam allowance towards the front panel, then top stitch along the seam. Take the back pattern piece and trim the panel to the same size. Now you can fuse the remaining piece of stabilizer to the back of the front zipper pocket. Take one of the top panels and with right side facing down, place it on top of the zipper pocket. Line them up along the top edge and pin together. We are going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance, but first you can pin the other panel to your back piece, making sure to keep the Velcro straps out of the way. You can press the seam allowance towards the top panels. Then you can top stitch along the seam. Now you can install rivets to the strap connectors. Take the base panel and the front zipper pocket. We need to pay attention to the position of the zipper and the front panel. They must be on the same side as the Velcro strap when facing up. Then flip the zipper pocket and we're going to line it up along the straight edge. We're going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance. But first I'm going to pin the back panel on the other side so I can stitch both seams at the same time. Make sure you keep the Velcro straps out of the way. Once you have both sides stitched, open the panels and press the seam allowance towards the base. Then you can top stitch along the seam. Take the remaining zipper and decide which way you want it to open. If you are using a single zipper pull, I would recommend having the zipper pull be on the same side as the zipper pocket, so the zipper will open from left to right. This just makes more sense because once the pouch is attached to the scooter or your bike, the zipper pull will be on top when the zipper is closed. So you don't have to worry about accidentally opening the zipper and losing your belongings. If you are using double pull zipper, then this is not an issue. Place the zipper facing down along the top panel and leave a zipper tail at the end, especially if you are using a closed-end zipper. Clip the zipper in place. Now you can baste the zipper 2 mm from the edge. If you want to add a folded label to your lining, you can place it in the middle of the side edge. Don't go too high or too low, because once the pouch is assembled, the label will be distorted. Also make sure you base the label facing down, because when the pouch is made, it will lay against the side, so the front of the label will be more visible. If you have a flat label that you need to stitch around, I would recommend placing it somewhere in the middle of the lining. Again, not too high and not too low. Take one of the lining pieces and with right sides facing down, line it up along the zipper. Pin it in place and sew the seam using 5 mm seam allowance. You can open the panels and press the seam flat. Then place both panels wrong sides together, line them up so you can press the seam flat. When ready, take it to the machine and top stitch along the zipper. Next, you can bring the other top panel over and align it on the other side of the zipper. Clip everything together. If you want, base the seam first. Otherwise, you can flip the entire pouch over to the other side, take the remaining lining piece, and with right sides together, place it on top and pin it to the zipper. We are going to sew the seam 5 mm from the edge. You can use a safety pin if you worry about losing your zipper pull. Then open the zipper and turn the pouch right side out. Then go ahead and press the seam flat as you did previously. If you keep the zipper open, you should be able to top stitch along the seam. If, like me, you are working with a continuous zipper, just remove the zipper pull so you can open the pouch and lay it flat. This way you can easily press it and top stitch along the zipper. When you are ready, insert the zipper pull back on the zipper. Make sure the external fabric and lining are aligned. Then base the short side and trim off the zipper tail. Then repeat on the other side. Open the zipper and turn your pouch inside out. Next, you will have to line up the long sides of your lining pieces and pin them together. We're going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance. However, we need to leave an opening in the middle so we can turn our pouch right side out. Open the seam allowance and press it flat. Next, we're going to line up the short edges of all 3 panels. First, I'm going to line up the lining sides and clip them together. Now, grab the external piece and align it on the other side, so the external sides are facing each other. Then you can move the clips to hold everything together. Repeat on the other side, but make sure you keep Velcro strap out of the way. Now we can take our scooter pouch and sew both seams using 1 cm seam allowance. But before you sew the seams, make sure your pouch looks like that. As you can see, our pouch is starting to take its shape. Next, we're going to work on side seams. However, we're only going to do one seam at a time. I know this might look a little bit confusing, and it is definitely the most challenging part of sewing this pouch. But if you are familiar with making box corners, then this step should be easy to follow. Just take your time and don't rush. Precision is a key at this point. To start, pinch the fabric at the base corner and line up the edges. And as you go along the edge, you will have to maneuver the fabric out of the way, so take your time. You will notice that the seam allowance naturally wants to go towards the base, so clip it down. Okay, this is how it should look like at this point. Now you're going to repeat the process for the lining seam. It is easier if you bring the lining to one side, then lay the pouch on the table and carefully maneuver fabric out of the way so you can lay the side panel flat. This way you can bring the lining on top. Then you can box the corners and align the side edges in the same way you've done for the external fabric. This is how both seams should be clipped. If everything looks good, base the seam about 2 mm from the edge. Don't worry about that short seams. It might be too difficult to base them at this point. Bring the lining and external pieces together, line them up, and hold everything with clips. Take this to the machine and sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance. I like to go over the same seam twice to add security. After the first side seam is stitched, you're going to repeat the process on the other side. Again, take your time and maneuver the fabric out of the way so you can line up the side edges. Clip the external pieces first, then work on the lining. You can base the seams separately, the same way you've done previously. Otherwise, line up the seams and move your clips to hold everything together. Then go ahead and sew the second side seam using 1 cm seam allowance. At this point, we have 2 side seams completed. To finish the remaining 2 seams, we have to carefully turn the pouch to the other side. Once you access the remaining side seams, again work on one seam at a time until you finish all 4 seams. When all 4 side seams are completed, turn the scooter pouch right side out using the opening in the lining. Make sure all corners look neat And if you are happy with everything, you can turn the pouch inside out. To close the opening in the lining, align the folded edges together and hold them with clips. You can finish the seam by stitching along the edge or close the opening by hand using a ladder stitch, whichever you prefer. After that, turn the pouch right side out and give it a final press if necessary. Congratulations! Your scooter pouch is now completed. Don't forget to like and comment below this video if you found this tutorial helpful. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel for similar content. See you next time! Stay crafty, friends!